Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Emmanuel, and in today's video we'll be seeing how to launch an EC2 instance. So before we even go and launch that EC2 instance, the question I'm sure you're asking yourself is, what is EC2? EC2 is nothing more than a service on AWS. It's a service on AWS that lets you create and launch virtual machines on demand. So you can launch as many virtual machines as you want on AWS. And in today's video we'll be seeing exactly how to launch a virtual machine. So without taking much of your time, let's get started. So the first thing I want you to do is to log into your AWS management console. I assume you already have an AWS management console. If you do not have an AWS management console, please go get one. So once you find yourself in your AWS management console, there are three places you can go to find the EC2 service. One is just to go on recently visited services, and if you scan through all this, you will see EC2 right here. Another way is to click on services, then click on compute, and you will find EC2 right there. Or you can just type EC2 in the search bar and you'll be taken straight to the EC2 instance page, right? So what I want you to do is to click on EC2 right here. Now when you click on EC2, you'll be taken to a page that looks like this. If you have launched or used EC2 before, you will definitely see all your instances that are running. But I assume that if you're watching this video, you are a complete beginner and you don't know how to launch an EC2 instance. So if you're not seeing this right here, that's fine, that's okay, don't panic. We're definitely going to I'm definitely going to show you how to get something like this. So the first thing you want to do is to click on launch instances. Now when you click on launch instances, you'll be taken to a page that looks like this. Actually, there's 7 steps when it comes to launching an EC2 instance. So you have to choose an AMI, choose an instance type, configure that instance, add storage, add tag, configure security group, then review everything and launch. And that's exactly what we'll be doing today. So the first thing is to choose an AMI. But before we even go and choose that AMI, what is an AMI? Let's read what Amazon says. Amazon says that an AMI is a template that contains the software configuration, for example, the operating system, application servers, and some applications required to launch your instance. So basically, an AMI is nothing more than a pre-configured machine that you use to launch your own machine. That's what an AMI is. So, and the AMI we will be using today is the Amazon Linux 2 AMI, and that's exactly the AMI I want you to choose. So choose the Amazon Linux 2 AMI and click on select. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to ask you to choose an instance type. So let's understand what this means. It says Amazon EC2 provides a wide selection of instance type. So by instance, what they're trying to say here is that Amazon provides a wide variety of servers. So Amazon is referring to servers as instance, right? So whenever you hear the word instance, know they're talking about servers. So it says Amazon provides a wide selection of instance type optimized to fit different use cases, and that's true. Now, not all servers on AWS are the same. There are some servers that are memory optimized. There are some that are storage optimized. There are some that are network optimized. So not all servers are the same, and not all servers can do the same thing. So since we are using this YouTube video for learning purposes, we're just going to choose the T2 micro right here. Now remember, you can choose any of these servers, but you also have to remember something. If you choose any of these servers, like for example, you choose like maybe a T2 large, you definitely be charged, right? So just choose a T2 micro right here. That's fine. We can always upgrade this to a different type of server in the future. So choose a T2 micro and click on configure instance details. Now I want to correct some things right here. If you click on configure instance detail, trust me, you won't find all these errors here that says no default subnet found, and you won't see all these things right here. The reason I'm seeing this is because I messed up with my VPC. I deleted my default VPC and I created my own VPC, which is not something I recommend you do. Do not do something like that. So in order for me to correct this, I'll just have to switch to my VPC, the one I created. As you can see, everything is fine. So the first thing it's going to ask you to do is to choose an instance type. Is to choose the number of instances. So how many instances do you want to launch? That's simply what AWS is asking you. Now remember, you can launch unlimited. You can launch 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 instances. By the way, did you know that Netflix has about 100,000 instances? Yeah, that's crazy. Now the next thing they're going to ask you is to choose a purchasing option. That's the next step. They're going to ask you to request for spot instances. Now do not play with that, just leave that alone. I have a video on spot instances, what spot instances are, and how you can request for spot instances. There's a link below this video, you can check it out. The next thing, they're going to ask you for a network, so just leave it on your default network, leave it on your default subnet. Now there's something I want you to pay attention to. Where it says auto assign public IP, I want it enabled. Make sure it's enabled. Now if you don't enable this, when you launch your EC2 instance, Amazon will not give you a public IP address. And if Amazon does not give you a public IP address, we're going to have some issues, because we're definitely going to do a lot of things with this EC2 instance. Like for example, we're going to SSH into this EC2 instance, install Apache on it, use this EC2 instance to host a website, a live website. We're going to assign an elastic IP to this EC2 instance. We're going to create an AMI from this EC2 instance and use that AMI to launch other EC2 instances. We're going to attach we're going to grab all those EC2 instances, then have it in an auto scaling group, and we're going to use it, we're going to front end it with a load balancer. So we're definitely going to do a lot of things with this EC2 instance. So make sure you have this right here enabled. Auto assign public IP, you want that enabled. Make sure it's enabled. Now once you have that, I want you to ignore everything, just leave everything. When you're starting, do not focus on all of these things. Why? Because as we keep going and as we keep learning more and more about EC2 instances, we can always come back and do some changes. Like for example, we can always come back here and add an IAM role to this EC2 instance. Definitely that's something we're going to do in the future. Then next I want you to do is to add storage. Now it says your instance will be launched with the following storage device settings. You can attach additional EBS volume and instance stored volume. So what is EBS? EBS stands for Elastic Block Store, and it's a type of block storage that works with what? EC2 instances. It works with EC2 instances. It only works with EC2 instances. So you can attach as many EBS volumes as you want on your EC2 instance, and you can even detach them in the future in case you want to detach them. And we're definitely going to see how to detach an EBS volume from an EC2 instance, then attach it to another EC2 instance. So now there's also something here, it's called instance store. Is still another type of storage. So what I'm going to do is make a separate video talking about EBS volumes and talking about instance store, the difference between the two and when the two are used. So I want you to leave everything as default. Then I want you to pay attention to something. It says delete on termination. I want you to leave that check, because at the end of this whole EC2 stuff, we definitely have to terminate this EC2 instance, and I want that when we terminate the EC2 instance, the EBS volume attached to it should be terminated as well. So leave everything as default and click on add tag. Now tag are like adding name to things. Like for example, you know, when you go to Walmart, you see like a name tag, you see like a price tag. It's the same thing here. So we're going to add a name tag. So we're going to say name, and we'll give our EC2 instance a name. So I'm just going to call this EC2 instance YouTube server. So I'm going to call this YouTube server. Cool. Then I'll go on configure security group. So it says here that a security group is a set of firewall rules that control the traffic for your instance. Basically, what security group are is, well, they are rules, as they say, that determine what can go in and out of an instance. So they control the traffic going and leaving your EC2 instance. So you have two options. You can either create a new security group or select an existing security group. But for this video, let's create a new security group. So I'll create a new security group and I'll call this YouTube security. I'll call this YouTube security group, right? And I'll just, since I already have the YouTube security group, I don't want to get an error at the end of this video, so I'll just add my name right there. Then it's going to ask you for a description right here. You can choose to add a description or not. Me, I don't want a description, so I'm definitely not going to add one. Then it's going to ask you to add a rule. Now we're not going to add a rule, so just leave this on SSH, leave this as default. In the future we're going to add more rules. We're going to add a database rule, we're going to add HTTP, then we're going to add HTTPS. We're going to add a lot of rules to this. Leave that as default. And now it's going to ask you to review everything and launch. Now when you click on launch, it's going to bring up something like this. It's going to ask you to choose for a keypair or create a keypair. So a keypair basically is what you will use to authenticate or log into that EC2 or log into that virtual machine. Now note, without this keypair you cannot log into that virtual machine. There's no way. So you need this keypair, you need to create a keypair. Now, if you have an existing keypair, like as you can see, I have a couple of keypairs, you can use one of your keypairs, or if you don't, you can go create a new keypair. So just give your keypair a name, just call it, you can call it YouTube keypair, you can call it anything. Then once you create your keypair, I want you to click on download and save that keypair somewhere on your laptop. Save it somewhere and make sure you don't lost that keypair, because definitely we're going to be doing a lot of things with this virtual machine, and we will be needing that keypair. So I'm going to choose an existing keypair. So you can also proceed with that keypair, which is not something I recommend you do. So I'm going to choose an existing keypair right here, and I'm going to choose my YouTube instance key. Then I'm going to acknowledge that I have the key. Then I'm going to click on launch instance. So what is happening in the background? AWS is provisioning. They're making sure they're trying to give me that server, or they're giving me the server already. As you can see, it says pending right here. This is our server right here, YouTube server, and it says pending. Now this is what just happened. So let me just sketch out what we just did in no time. So this is what just happened right now. So we are right here on our local machine, right? And this is the cloud right here, right? So this is the AWS. So this is the AWS environment. And what we just did is from our local machine, we launched a virtual machine in the cloud. So we now have this machine running in the cloud called YouTube server, and we're going to do a lot of things with this YouTube server in our upcoming videos. So let's go back on instances. As you can see, our machine is now running, and if you click on this, you're going to see a public IP address has been assigned to this machine. We have a private IP address, we have the instance ID, we have the IP version 6. Now if you do not have an IP version 6, that's fine, do not panic. And we have a lot of things, and we can go on security, we can go on networking, we can go on storage, we can have some like status checks, and as you can see, everything is pending. We can look at some monitoring. So guys, this is how you launch a virtual machine in the cloud. But when you launch a virtual machine, after you launch a virtual machine, what do you do with it? That's exactly what we'll be doing in our next video. So in the next video I'm going to post, it will be how to log in into this virtual machine and update that virtual machine. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys on my next video. Bye.